once we've designed that mix and we know what we want to plant, then we've got to think about when do we want to plant and getting good establishment. If you're located in the Midwest and upper Midwest or the more northern climes and you want to get sufficient cool season grazing off of a warm season cover crop, then it's best to establish that cover crop prior to the harvest of the warm season crop. So what we typically do there, for instance, if you have a corn crop, we can go in and we can plant a cover crop mix in the V4 to V6 stage of the corn. The corn obviously at that point hasn't canopied over. You've got clear rows in between the corn to go in and plant. And we can do this a number of ways. We can broadcast seed using a high boy. We can go in and we can aerial seed so we can fly it on. Or we can retrofit planters so that we can go in and plant or drill in between those corn rows. So there's a number of different ways that this can be done and be accomplished. Now what typically happens here is that once you seed in, it'll germinate and start to come up, and then your corn will canopy over. And that'll cause the cover crop to basically stand still in its development. And many times you may think you have lost that cover crop, but it's just sort of laying dormant. And once your corn starts drying down and sunlight can once again penetrate, then you'll see it starting to respond and to come on strong and grow. And once that corn is harvested, typically in a good season, if you've got proper moisture and soil temperature, then you see very rapid response, and it won't be long until you can actually get your livestock in on that cover crop and graze that cover crop.
One of the questions I get is concerns about yield drag when doing that. We really don't see much. We're just not seeing the data on that. When you've got a corn plant, that's already up this tall, and we plant a little seed that's going to germinate and be about this big, there's just not a competitive advantage there for that little cover crop plant to really have a yield drag. The corn's so much further advanced. It's just not been a problem. We're not seeing a problem with that.
All right, so what we're looking at out here in this field is a field of rye. It was flown on at 2 bushels an acre at leaf yellow of soybeans. And the reason we do that is because if we time it just right, the leaves, when they fall off the soybeans, act like a mulch, and they trap the moisture for the rye to grow, and we end up with a much better seeding rate. This field, being that it was in soybeans, is going to be into corn. So in the fall, some of it will be chopped for corn silage. And as soon as the chopper leaves the field, my drill comes in the field and we'll be drilling probably 2 bushels of rye, a bushel of oats, and probably 5 pounds of rape with maybe a legume or of some sort, because after silage harvest, we're talking probably about the 15th of September. And so it's early enough to get some of those other things established and get really, really good growth on it. The remainder of the field, being that it's standing corn, is going to get a cover crop flown into it with an airplane at when the corn starts drying down. So when I can go out in the cornfield and I can see daylight between the rows, that's when I want to start flying on.
We're a little bit limited on some of the cover crops we can use in that situation. Annual ryegrass, winter wheat, as far as grasses are working well. Crimson clover might be an option. Radishes tend to work pretty good from a brassica standpoint. That's some of the ones we're seeing our best success with and tend to do well under that corn canopy as it closes. Some corn producers are opting to use a shorter day corn on some of their fields where they're doing it so they can get it off quicker in the fall, get that canopy to open up a little earlier before the growing season ends to allow some of this to grow, especially if they're going to use that cover crop along with the corn stover that's out there as a cattle ration, as cattle forage into the fall and winter. And so some people will opt for that.
Another option in your row crop in establishing a cover crop is to go in and immediately seed a cover crop after harvest of the standing corn or soybean crop or whatever, wheat crop, whatever you may have in there. So you can go in and you can, obviously at that point, you don't have any impedance, and you can use your standard drills, go in and just drill a crop in, to get good emergence. Now, the drawback to that is that you're getting it planted later in the season, so you have later establishment, and so you're going to have more limitations on your grazing opportunities with doing that. But it does allow you to get a cover crop in, and if you're not going to graze it, and you're just simply using it as a cover crop, then obviously that allows you to have that ground covered and to get an adequate crop established before the winter freeze hits.